Well, where are we today, Bill? This is, I mean, why are we out here in the rain?
Well, it just happened to rain today.
Oh,
And this is Memorial Weekend.
that is correct.
Tomorrow is Memorial Day.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're doing kind of a special Memorial Day
Yeah.
presentation, if you will.
Okay.
So we are in Gray, Maine,
Yep.
which is a little ways from our home in Freedom, not that far, about an hour's drive, a little
Right.
less maybe. And we are here to tell the story of the stranger.
The stranger. That sounds like a strange story.
It does. It does indeed. Well, the stranger actually involves two fellows.
Yep.
Both of them are soldiers. Both each on the other side. One a Union soldier
Okay.
and the other a Confederate soldier.
Yep.
So right now, we're standing in front of the grave of Lieutenant Charles H. Colley.
Okay.
Joined the Union Army in the 10th Infantry Regiment, and he was just 29 years old. He was mortally wounded at the Battle of Cedar Mountain on August 9th, 1862. It's kind of one of those tragic stories. His regiment on that day, in less than 10 minutes, lost half of their unit. They were either killed, wounded, or lost.
Wow.
Charles was a sergeant at the time of his wound,
Right. I remember that.
and he was promoted apparently on the day before his death,
Yep.
on September 15th. He died from sepsis. Saying that right?
Septis, I think.
Septis, which is an infection caused by a wound.
Well, he was hit in the knee,
Yes,
apparently. But of course, in those days, that wasn't, I mean,
Yes.
if you had a wound like that, they didn't take the precautions that we take today.
Right. Yes.
And they couldn't.
Yes.
And unfortunately, infections would set in, and something that you would probably survive today,
Yes.
he didn't.
So Charles, interestingly enough, has a marker in Alexandria National Cemetery.
Yep.
And he has a marker here in Gray, Maine. The marker, by the way, in Alexandria lists him as a sergeant.
Yep.
They got it wrong, and here it's corrected. He's listed as a lieutenant. The Gray marker is very possibly a cenotaph. He may not be buried here, actually, in reality.
Yep.
The Army may have it right. He may be in Alexandria. The Gray Historical Society, on the other hand, they emphatically say he is buried here in Gray.
Well.
So that's going to take us to another grave, which is just over there about 100 feet from that.
Right. Well, I did a pan just a little bit there, and
Yes.
you could see where the next grave we're going to visit is, not very far from here, although we did have some issues finding
Yes,
this,
we
as
did.
sometimes happen. But our cameraman, Philip, found actually both graves for us today.
Owl Eyes Philip.
Yes.
Yes. So we're going to go over and visit the other grave, which is the second part of the story and concerns the Confederate soldiers.
Right. Now, but it is interesting that we had one figure that Gray sent 200 soldiers from this town, which is about 1,500 people at the time.
Right.
Can you imagine really that many people, or that many of the men going away?
It is said there are 178 Union soldiers buried within the town.
That's
Not
right.
necessarily in the
here,
cemetery, but
yeah.
which may or may not be account for the 200 that they sent, because I'm sure other soldiers were buried here from other towns or moved in later. So but 178 just in this one town.
Right. Had to have an effect on the town.
Yeah.
And it reminds me a little bit of the town that we have talked about, Shawtown, which is near where I live and where you live too. And, where the whole town really ended up leaving because the men didn't come back, or if they did, they couldn't work. But anyway, reason we're here today is because of the connection
Yes.
to a Confederate soldier.
Right.
And we're going to go over and take a look at that.
Look at that.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So, Rick, what's the story, especially with the Confederate flags?
Well, oddly enough, in one way, in sort of a strange way, this grave probably should have been his.
Yes.
But what happened is, in the battles, and this is something to think about, but apparently the undertakers at that time would come to the battlefields at the end of a battle and would then collect some of the bodies, and then would apparently were able to get the message out that it was possible to then, obviously cost some money, to have the body embalmed and then sent home, especially for Northern soldiers, but it must have worked for the Confederates as well, so that they would send the bodies home.
Yes. If you had the money, you could pay to have your son or daughter returned to your hometown for burial in your cemetery in your hometown.
And Charles, we're told, had been found. And apparently the mother paid the money, and basically the coffin was sent up here. And she did insist on looking at it.
Yes.
And when they opened up the coffin, what do you think they found?
Wasn't Charles.
It wasn't Charles. It was very definitely not Charles. It was a Confederate soldier, and apparently in uniform, and very clearly was not Charles or a Union soldier for that matter. But it kind of shows you, in spite of the war and everything that we go through at various times as human beings, there's another side to us that basically does have empathy. And the mother, basically had the empathy enough, and I think it was an organization of mothers too, wasn't it? Of a group.
Well, it says that on the stone, but essentially the mothers of Gray.
Yeah, of Gray.
Yes, of Gray, Maine, of the town. They found a home for they didn't return him. They didn't disrespect the body. They had it interned in their home cemetery here in Gray.
Right, and they buried him right here.
Yes.
Now he's called the Stranger, says so right on the grave, because I guess really that's what he is. They were never able to tell, and I guess really how could you back in those days? But they did take the time to do that. Now apparently later on, they did, as you see here actually, right now we have the Confederate flag, and we have the American flag, and there's a veteran right next door there as well. That's been controversial.
Yes.
Over the years. When they first did it, when did the Confederate flag
Well, apparently in 1956,
they started.
The Daughters of the Confederacy sent a small Confederate flag to the town of Gray and asked that it be placed on his monument. Somehow they had got word that he was buried here, and they wanted him to be remembered as he was a Confederate soldier. And
apparently at that time,
yes, that was fine.
Everyone was okay
Not
with
problem.
that. Later on, we have a kind of a mixed message here. 2010, 2015.
Apparently the Daughters did not send a flag anymore, and so they just discontinued the practice.
Okay. So in any way, this is where the Stranger ended up, and Charles, who should have been here, is right over there.
Yes.
Where we were before.
He is in the family plot. Well, I kind of think that it's appropriate that we are standing here today, the day before Memorial Day.
Right.
Which comes on a Monday now and is more of an excuse to sell automobiles and mattresses.
Yes.
But the truth is here, we are trying to remember and respect those that died for our country. It's 161 years since the Civil War, and here we are today.
Today still,
Now, there's a lot of different stories about how Memorial Day got started, and we're not really going to go into that and delve into it, but that basically it was started by mothers,
Yeah.
both mothers from the south and mothers from the north.
Yeah.
Apparently, the southern mothers kind of began by decorating, and I think they did it in September. But they put flowers on the graves of the fallen soldiers.
Yeah.
The mothers on the Union got wind of it, thought it was a wonderful idea, and then started the practice themselves. And then Memorial Day was moved to the date we celebrated today, without the Monday, of course, the 30th of the month.
Yeah.
And the Grand Army of the Republic, which was the Union American Legion of the day, they endorsed that, and it was passed. But the underlying fact is that mothers from both the South and the North, they bore the pain of the loss of their sons, and they wished to remember their sacrifice.
Yeah.
So it's a tribute to the mothers of Gray, who opened up their hearts to a stranger and buried him in their own town.
Yep, across enemy lines, so to
Yes.
speak.
So this is just a section of a part of a little poem from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, which was very popular during the Civil War or slightly after. It goes, "Your silent tents of green we deck with fragrant flowers. Yours has the suffering been, the memory shall be ours."
Appropriate for Memorial Day. Well, stranger
Rest in
and
peace.
Charles, I hope you're both resting in peace,
Absolutely.
in spite of the fact that you were on two different sides of a war.